Eizendore's Vault of Tragic Treasure, we often abbreviate it to AVOTT, A-V-O-T-T. It is a massive tome of 200 plus pages, packed with 200 plus magic items, lore, adventure, and more. I'll give you a little bit of a background as to where the idea came from. I created a one-shot for Worldcon 2019. About 6 months after Worldcon, myself and Kaylee's my wife, she helps me out a lot on these projects, so I will mention her from time to time. Anyway, Kaylee and I, we sat down and we're trying to figure out ways to create some content for Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop RPGs. I make a living as a science fiction and fantasy novel writer, and I've been doing that full time since 2018. I have that mindset of create content, get it out to people, you know, create great content people enjoy and get it out to them. And being someone who loves Dungeons and Dragons and runs 3 weekly games, 2 in Lost Mines of Phandelver and 1 in Rime of the Frost Maiden, it was bound to happen sooner or later. We did realize, however, that the original idea, it would need a campaign setting and a campaign adventure book. So 2 different books, both about 300 pages each. And we thought that was really ambitious, maybe too ambitious for a first project. So we decided to dial it back a bit, try to think of something a bit smaller, and just get us started and to springboard into this other thing. And Eizendore's Vault of Tragic Treasure was born. We originally wanted it to be about 100 pages long, have around 100 items in it, but it quickly grew and scaled and took on a life of its own. We don't know what the page count is going to be, and we won't know that until closer to the time. We actually have designed 300 items or more. They're in various stages of completion, and I'm going to say 200-ish because in all likelihood we will only have time to get 200 of those 300 items to the point where they need to be. We come up with the concept of the items, then they go through some balancing, they go through a review, and they go through various stages of review, and then the playtesters obviously knock out any other kinks that they find in them. It comes back to the table, we fix those up. Anyway, that's a little bit about the background and how we do things. What about some more information about what exactly will be in the book? Well, it's going to be a PDF and a hardback. And it's going to look like any typical tabletop RPG supplement. It'll have, you know, your intro, your credits, a little bit about how to use the book. We've envisioned there being 3 chapters, 1 on lore, 1 on adventure, and 1 on items. Now, we don't know if it's going to be in that order when it comes to publishing. We'll see what happens. So, lore is very important to us in this book. I got asked a question recently, Paddy, is this something that I can use in any setting or campaign? It truly is plug and play. It truly is something that you can take and put anywhere. Now, I don't say that lightly. The problem I have with a lot of content out there, whether it be official, homebrew, or otherwise, is it uses verbiage such as, you can use this material as is, or use it in your own campaign or setting. And that's great when they make that claim, but no one gives you the mechanics or explains how to do that. But it was important to me that Eizendore's Vault of Tragic Treasure created a setting that would let you take it and plug it in. Spoiler alerts, the vault is inside a floating island fortress type thing, which is concealed by a cloud. And the idea is that this thing has been in the sky above people's heads, in these clouds, just part of the weather system. And it's been doing this, floating around between the planes and across worlds throughout the ages, and no one has noticed. No one believes it exists, and those few that do believe it exists, you know, can never find it. It's like hidden, but it's hidden in plain sight, right? That's the idea. So right off the bat, you have something that you can take and put in most settings, okay? There are exceptions, but anyway, Aizendore, the collector, it works really well with him because the idea behind Aizendore is that he goes off and he collects magic items in different planes and worlds, and he has different reasons for doing that. You'll find out a little bit more in the book. So the adventures are pretty much there to offer you hooks and ideas on how to introduce certain magic items to your characters. It isn't like a full-blown adventure that incorporates all of the lore and the items. We would love to do that, but it would mean creating a 300-page book separate to Eizendore's Vault. Actually, I have outlined that exact adventure. I just don't have the resources or the time or anything else to deal with that right now. So it's sitting on a shelf, and we will get to it at some point if that is something that you guys want. I mean, let us know. Is it something you guys would be interested in? And also, what kind of items would you like to see in Eizendore's Vault of Tragic Treasure? Fire some comments down below. Let us know what items you like to see. We've done this quite a few times. We've put out feelers and said, what would you like to see, guys? Community, you know what you want. Tell us what you want. We'll create what you want. We've had quite a few interesting discussions around that, and some interesting items have come out of it that we couldn't have envisioned ourselves. The adventures are going to be 2 or 3 mini adventures to just give you a rough idea. That's all. As much as we would love to create a full-blown adventure, that is not within the realms or scope of this project. And that brings us to the tragic items. So they're magic items. We call them tragic items because it's magic items with a spin. In what way are they tragic? We do have some that are tragic in terms of the consequences they have for using them. This is a book to make things fun for the DM and the players. But that's only a small variety of the items. They don't all do tragic things. Most of them have a tragic backstory, or they were created under tragic circumstances. Although some do, like I said, they could do tragic things depending on a dice roll, or some are high risk, low risk. I'll give you a few examples. So this chapter is going to be broken into 3 categories. The first one will be Markovad's collection. So Markovad the Maker was Aizendore the Collector's master. She took Aizendore under her wing, but he was never able to master the craft of creating magic items the way she did. And eventually she ascended. The gods kind of took her for themselves. They were jealous and wanted her craft. She was so good at creating magic items, they wanted that ability for themselves, so they caused her to ascend, leaving Aizendore behind, who kind of hadn't mastered things, so he became more of a collector. So that's a little bit of the lore. Back to these items, Markovad's collection. So Markovad liked items that were related to transmutation, shaping reality or reshaping reality, planar travel. A few examples of what those would entail would be Markovad's animated airship, which is a little airship you can put in your pocket. It's just a wooden carving. However, if you use its command word, it flies off to a safe distance and turns into a huge airship that you can actually use to fly around in. As you can probably tell, some of these items are big, not just in physical scale, but also in how much pages they will take up in a book. So this one, for example, would take up several spreads. You have to deal with having a crew. Can this airship fight? Does it have weapons? Can it be customized? How many decks does it have? What weight can it carry? What if it's damaged? There actually is a little crew of clockwork gnomes. You need to deal with those. How many are there? What do they do if the airship is attacked? Do they fight? What are their stats? How do they react to the player characters? What if NPCs get involved? What if the player characters are on board the ship and the magic stops and it shrinks back into a little tiny animated ship? A personal favorite is the bottle of a gin. That is spelled D-J-I-N-N. That's my favorite because I've run a few adventures using that item and they've always been a lot of fun. That brings us to the next category, which is the artifacts of ascension. I'm not going to go too much into these. Essentially, they are magic items, mostly sentient. These items are quite powerful. Well, they become powerful because they level up with your character. So that's the artifacts of ascension. We then get to the category that takes up most of the book, the tragic items. Okay, there are going to be quite a few of these. You're going to have just general run-of-the-mill magic items that you would expect to see anywhere, just with a bit of a twist on them. I see some really weird stuff, some really wonderful stuff, some stuff that's situational that you wouldn't use all that often, but when you do use it, it's really epic. One of our primary considerations when creating items and deciding what makes it into the book is something I like to call narrative potential. I don't know if that's an actual thing in game design, or maybe there's another word for it. Let me know if there is. But narrative potential to me is this item, yes, it needs to be mechanically sound, it needs to be balanced, it needs to be something that players are going to want to use, and something that's not going to be a headache for a dungeon master, right? But at the same time, Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition has become this awesome collaborative storytelling tool. And that's what a lot of people use it for. You know, there are people who still, you know, play Dungeons & Dragons and it's a hack and slash dungeon crawl, more traditional. That's fine, whatever you find fun. But a lot of people use it as a storytelling experience. And we wanted to make sure that some of the items lent themselves to that. So an example would be like a high risk, high reward item, such as the potion of death cheating. You drink this potion, roll a death saving throw. If you make it, you regain your maximum hit points. If you fail it, you fall unconscious and have automatically failed one of your death saving throws. Now, that seems like a bit of a crazy item, right? And that's the point, because imagine the party is facing the big bad evil guy. It looks like there's going to be a TPK, right? They maybe misjudged things. You know, maybe they weren't as creative about it as they could have been. Maybe the dice rolls just weren't that great that day, right? Things are looking really bad. The last character standing, or one of the last characters standing, has a little bit of hit points left. They're about to die. It's bad. There's no coming back from this. But they drink this potion, and they roll it, and they succeed, and they have maximum hit points, and they can turn the tide. They get their other characters back up, and they overcome the challenge. Imagine how epic that would be, right? That would be the kind of story and campaign that would stay with those players forever. They would always remember that. So we wanted to create opportunities for that to happen. Now that's not all of the items, it's just some of them, but an element of that went into the making of these items. So that's a rough overview and a little bit of detail about what to expect inside Aizendore's Vault of Tragic Treasure. That brings us to the Kickstarter. When will the Kickstarter be? We don't have the specifics, but it will be early 2021. If you want to make sure you don't miss it, go to the link in the doobly-doo, join our newsletter, and when you join our newsletter, we will send you a PDF right away with 11 of the magic items that we're working on, just to give you a rough idea of what's going to be in the book. Now these items are still undergoing play testing. They have a bunch of kinks that need to be hammered out of them, but it'll give you an idea. Also, the artwork's beautiful. One of the best things about this project is getting to work with really talented and amazing artists. It'll give you an idea of the visuals, and there's a little bit of lore in there as well. We will also be providing weekly progress updates, just going a little bit into what we did the previous week, what we're doing now, and what we'll do in the following week. Similar to what MCDM, Matt Colville, used to do. He's trying to lay off that a little bit more in recent times, but we'll be doing that maybe every Monday or something. We'll put out a video telling you what's happening. We want to keep people who are interested in pledging and investing in this product. We want to keep them informed about what's happening. Aizendore's Vault of Tragic Treasure. It's an awesome book with awesome magic items, created by a team of awesome people, and the Kickstarter is going to be awesome, and it's there to make your games even more awesome than they already are. So we can't wait to get that out there. Jeez, that was a lot of awesome, eh? Anyway, check out the newsletter down below. Make sure you get those weekly updates. Make sure you find out about the Kickstarter, and also, you know, subscribe, like the video, drop any comments about what you'd like to see in the book or what you'd like to see us work on. Until next time, keep rolling.